back to the Coder Kids, and in today's video we are going to continue over the topic of conditionals. So in the previous video you might have seen that we briefed you about what conditionals are, what is if, what is else, and how do we use these if and else as conditionals. So basically when I talk about conditionals, so I was talking about the bar and the checkpoint that we put inside a program. And on the basis of that, we have two outcomes. Either the condition gets satisfied and we get true results, or we get a false result because the condition does not satisfy. Depending upon the use of the outcomes, we proceed further with the flow of the program. In today's video, we are going to check out what are different type of conditionals that do exist apart from the basic if and else. So let's start today's video and let's learn about the conditionals a bit in a deeper way. So if else, that is the basic conditionals. If elif, that is another type of conditionals. And then we have if, elif and else. We do also see that what is the implementation of if we want to use this if statement in a nested manner. Let's check out them one by one. So when we talk about the if else, we can say that an if statement is something which needs to have an option, and that's where the else comes into picture. So else part can get evaluated only if the if does not satisfy. That means the code inside if is not executed because the condition is not satisfied and it is not evaluated to be true. The if will only be working only if the condition satisfies. That means if the evaluation turns out to be true. Let's see the syntax of if else. So if there is a certain condition and the block of code in that particular condition gets satisfied, that means if it is true, the processing that needs to be inside if will work. The else part will execute only if the condition does not satisfy. Let's see this example of if else. So basically what are we doing here? We have made an input variable inside which we are asking the user about their age. And we'll make sure that following from the input and output functions that we learned, that we are we are doing the type conversion here. So int input, that's very important because on the basis of that, then only we will be using the operators. So basically what we are checking, if the age, my bad, so here I have written num, it should be age. Earlier I was thinking of using some different example, that's why I've just written it like this. So if we check that the age is greater than 18 years, that means we are counting that particular user as an adult, else we are not counting them as an adult. So else is exactly just opposite of if, which is happening. So we are not putting up any certain condition over there. So we can say that's just an alternative. Now let's check out the if-elif. So what is if-elif here? So if we need to make a choice between more than one conditional alternative, we can also use elif part. So we can see an example that has been mentioned over here. So for example, we give a particular condition to a child. We say that if they do their homework, they get to play for 2 hours. But if they do only 50% of their homework, so I'm not just giving only opposite alternative of what the condition is, I'm also putting a checkpoint in that particular alternative. So I'm asking if they do 50% of their homework, they get to play only for 30 minutes. And then again in elif, that if they do only 80% of their homework, they can play for 1 hour. So this is where we use if and elif. So elif is exactly else plus if. Let's see how elif can be used as an example. So here again the same thing, we ask the age from the user. Then here we are not just checking if the user is an adult or not an adult, but we are also checking what other options we can have here. So if the age is greater than 18, we are telling the user that you are an adult. Then we put up a clause that the if is lying somewhere, that the age is lying somewhere between 12 to 18. We tell them that you are a teenager. And again, the next condition we give them that their age is somewhere between 5 to 12. We tell them that you are a child. So this is how we can use if and elif. You can try out these programs on Replit or on your Visual Code Studio or on Anaconda. You can try on these Python programs and see for the outputs yourself as well. Let's move ahead with if, elif and else. So here we see that if we need to make a choice between more than two alternatives, so that means we do have a condition, we have an alternative condition, and then finally we do have an alternate. So here I can take up the first example that I took for the homework and say that if you complete 100% of your homework, you get to play for 2 hours. If, that means else if you complete 50% of your homework, you get to play for 1 hour. Else, so else will automatically take that if you haven't complete your homework, or even if you do 10% or 20%, whatever the condition will be, everything will be counted by else, and in that case you don't get to play. Let's see an example for this. So here I'm asking the user to enter a number, and now am I checking here that if the number is greater than 0, I'll count it as a positive number. If the number is less than 0, I count it as a negative number, and else the only possibility left after this. So if the number is greater than 0, less than 0, the last possibility is that the number itself is a 0. So we tell that it is a 0. So here we can say that if, elif and else can be used together. Now let's see the example of nested if. Nested if is something, let's say we just take the word nest here. So how does a nest look like? A bird's nest. So it's like something, things are nested, line by line or stick by stick, they are joined together in a certain depth like a structure, and that's how a nest is formed. Same way we can use nested if. So if you look at it here, so we are taking number as a variable, that's an input variable. So again, we ask the user about entering a number. Now we have a condition, the if condition, that talks about if the number is greater than or equal to 0. Now, if this condition gets satisfied, only after that we get to come inside the if conditions processing part. So when do we come inside the processing part? We do get one more condition. Now this is where the nested if is counted. So the one which says if number is greater than equals 0, that is counted as an outer if statement. The one which we have inside, it is if number equals 0, this is counted as an inner if statement. So when we check that the number is equal to 0, then we are printing that the number is 0. That means only if these two conditions get satisfied, then only we get the response as number is 0. Now we have an else, and this else is a counter alternative or a counter statement or an alternative to the inner if. It has no relation with the outer if. Okay, so here we say else the number is positive. That means if the number is equals to 0, then we'll count it as a 0, or if it's just greater than 0 but not satisfying the equality, we will print that the number is positive. Then we do have one more else here. It says that the number is negative. That means it belongs to the outer if. So it's just an alternative for the outer if statement and not for the inner if. So it says that the number is negative. That's it. So these were the examples. These were the syntax, how if else, if-elif, else, and the nested if can be worked together. In the next video, we'll check out few examples and few programs and see how we can implement these on Python. So these were the videos. Do check them out. Try it by yourself. Do let me know in comment section below if you have any issues, if any problems related to Python, anything that we have covered till today. Thank you so much for watching this video and have a nice day.